Hey everyone, Blaze here. Welcome back to another anime collection overview video. We're going to be taking a look at the second part, the second shelf of my seinen, like mystery, crime, gun shows, like drama sort of stuff. Kind of stuff that, I don't know, sort of fits well together, but maybe isn't all under one genre umbrella. So, yeah, and this is actually kind of I'm doing this sort of at the very last possible moment because I have recently just sold all of my City Hunter ADV DVDs because obviously in between this and the last video, Discotek announced that they're going to be putting out the entire franchise again, including all the stuff we didn't get first time round, which is I think is literally just one OVA and a new movie. Of course, they'll probably be putting season 1 out on Blu-ray. It's probably going to be a long time before I have all of City Hunter again on the shelf, but decided that it was worth getting rid of it now and putting that money towards furniture I need in this room, and then eventually picking up the Discotek releases so everything matches when those come out and hopefully have slightly better video quality and stuff. Another interesting thing that's happened between this shelf video and the last one is that I have now finished all of City Hunter. I decided to go through and actually just watch the whole thing, watch all these DVDs that I've owned for years and kept meaning to get around to, didn't. And there was a part of me that was feeling great regret at the idea of selling these without actually having watched them after owning them for all these years. So I went through, obviously I'd already seen season 1 back in 2017, I think I made my way through that. But then I started like the first 4 episodes of City Hunter 2 here in collection 1, and then just didn't go back to it at the time. But yeah, over the course of last month, so June, basically for most of June, I watched nothing but City Hunter. I went through the whole thing. I watched City Hunter Collection 2, or City Hunter 2 Collection 1, and then I watched City Hunter 2 Collection 2. City Hunter 2 is pretty good. It's pretty much just more of the same. There's a couple of really good stories in it. The animation doesn't change a whole lot, honestly. I mean, this show literally came out a year later after the first series. It really is just more of the same, more of the status quo, but it's good fun. Having marathoned the whole show in such a short period of time, though, I have to confess that the show, being its episodic nature, it definitely did repeat a bunch of like story plot ideas and stuff, and it does get a little bit stale after a while. I mean, I did literally cram it in about 20 days or something, like the whole franchise, or maybe a little bit more than that, but it was yeah, I pretty much watched all of it in a very short time frame, just over 3 weeks, I think, so by the end I was sort of tired of it in a way, but I've definitely had fun. Okay, so next up we've got, get it out, City Hunter 357 Magnum. This is the first of the TV specials they did. Sunrise did back in, I think this is the 1989, I believe. Don't think it says on the back what year this came out, unfortunately. This one actually does have a dub. Curious thing about the TV specials and movies, unlike the TV shows that only are sub only, these all have dubs, and the reason for that is because ADV originally licensed the movies and TV specials back in the 90s, and when they put them out on VHS, they gave them dubs, and the dubs are pretty piss poor quality. Like, the audio's fine, but more that the performances are just, I don't know, they don't really work for me. I mean, I could see what they were going with, but like translating like Rio Cyber's like crazy like mockery voice into like super serious voice, putting that into English, it really doesn't work for me. Like, some of the magic is lost. I think they just went too nasally with his mockery voice, I guess, and it just sounds really stupid. Anyway, so yeah, I would definitely not recommend the dub, especially since, you know, by the time if you watch them in order like I did, by the time you get to this special, you've already watched like over 100 episodes, like 100, almost 120 episodes of the show, subtitled in English, so you're used to the Japanese cast at that point. But anyway, yeah, so this is the first TV special. I wasn't a fan of this particular special. I thought it was just really boring, unfortunately. It's basically, occasionally in the show, City Hunter, you get, most of the episodes are single parts. Very rarely, only like a literal handful of times, you might get a free episode. Occasionally you get double episodes, like two-parters, especially in City Hunter 2, there's a bunch of two-parters. This feels like a two-parter, but it's dragged out to a full 90 minutes. So instead of being just 45, 50 minutes, it's twice the length, pretty much. And yeah, it really showed, because it's like I say, it's paced the same way. It's just that certain sequences that you would expect in a two-part story just go on and on and on. They just go on way longer, and it's just like the middle of this TV special was really boring, and overall the plot itself just didn't really interest me very much, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so this particular special I did not enjoy. Squeeze that back in. Then I followed it up with City Hunter 3, which has by far my favourite opening. It's always been my favourite. I've had a soundtrack CD of the opening and endings for City Hunter for a very long time. Actually picked them up from the same guy that I bought these DVDs off of back in the day. And yeah, I've always loved Running to the Horizon, which is the yeah, the opening for this, which is just awesome. It's the one that goes na 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 na, step on the gas. It's super good. I might put a link to that in the description if you've never heard it. Like, some of the City Hunter openings are some of my favourites, but that one in particular, without a doubt, is one of my favourites of all time. Outside of City Hunter as well, that is just one of the best. Anyway, as for this series, we take a dramatic dive in terms of episode counts. As I said, the first series is like 50 something episodes. I think it's 51. The second series is 63. By this point though, City Hunter a little bit long in the tooth, I guess. It's been coming out for quite a while, year on, year out, and at this point, in 1989, we only get 13 episodes for City Hunter 3. I also wonder, I haven't looked this up, but we also get a change in design for Rio. Like, not a significant change, but his jacket and shirt combination change from grey and red shirt to this like beige, white, cream jacket with a blue shirt. Not every episode though does he wear that. Some of the episodes in this season, I believe, and especially in the season afterwards as well, he does actually still wear this combo, which leads me to believe that maybe, I haven't read the manga for City Hunter, so I would imagine there's plenty of filler in these original seasons, but maybe I'm wrong and there isn't. But I would imagine therein that perhaps the stories in this where he's wearing his older grey jacket and red shirt, you can see where I'm going with this, is probably canon to the manga, and all the other stuff where he's not wearing that, when he is wearing this combo, is perhaps filler, like original content, original stories. Don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess. I like the season overall. It's not incredible. There is a slight change in the art style. Again, it's not dramatic. It's not just the characters, the general design of Rio here. Like, there is definitely a change, and there's a slight bump up in the animation quality as well. It's not a dramatic change, but it is there. I like this season. I could definitely envision, when I get around to the discotheque releases, going back to City Hunter 3, and in a minute we'll be showing you City Hunter 91. Going back to those more frequently, just because they're shorter. Like, I will definitely, hopefully, get to rewatching City Hunter 1 and 2 at some point in my lifetime. I definitely hope for that. But I could definitely see myself, when I get a City Hunter craving, these are probably the seasons I'm going to go back to the most, just because they're shorter and it'll take less time, and it will give me that craving without having to spend 20 hours with it. I could probably get through this in literally 2 days, which is what I did when I was watching them. So yeah, City Hunter 3, it's good stuff. Then we've got 2 OVAs here. We've got City Hunter Bay City Wars and City Hunter The $1 Million Conspiracy. So yeah, 2 separate OVAs, both running at 50 minutes each. I enjoyed both of these, but I really liked Bay City Wars. Bay City Wars is basically just action, and it's actually one of those things, as we progress through City Hunter and these specials I'm going to be talking about, it's one of those things that I kind of wish City Hunter did more of. So often in City Hunter, the story setup is just Rio and this girl. He gets like flirtation with the girl, he wants to get mockery with the girl, and then the girl is normally thinking Ryo's a bit of a creep. Why did I hire this guy to help me? Then Ryu puts on like his white knight in shining armor routine, basically saves the day at some point and changes the girl's mind, and they all go happily ever after. And yeah, that's kind of the setup to some degree of pretty much most of the episodes. So my point is, the action is normally left to the very end of an episode or a story arc, a mini story, and then the rest of the everything prior to the action at the end, like the action sequence, is basically comedy stuff. In the case of Bay City Wars, as I was saying, like the whole thing is action, and it's a lot of fun, and it is something I wish they did a lot more of, because it definitely fits these characters. Like it's believable when you see Rio like running around, like rolling around and shooting guns, because we do see it. We just don't see it a lot because it's normally left to the very end, probably due to budget concerns. I assume like it's more expensive to do action scenes and things like that, so maybe that was the reason. But in the case of Bay City Wars, pretty much the whole thing is action, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun 52 minutes. I really liked it. Million Dollar Conspiracy, not something I remember overly well. I know some people really don't like that special, find it a bit boring. Although some people don't like Bay City Wars because they don't think it's City Hunter enough, even though, because it's all action basically. But yeah, Million Dollar Conspiracy is not something I really remember at all, honestly. It was just kind of, I liked it, that's all I kind of remember. Bay City Wars is definitely the one that stands out for me on that one. This also has the dub on it because it's one of the specials. Then we get the last, to this date, the last ever City Hunter TV series, City Hunter 91. Now, quick side point on this. If you remember, in one of my older pickup videos from like a few months ago now, when I think it was the Made in Japan one, I mentioned how I'm trying to watch one anime TV series from 1980 all the way up to 2019. I knocked off 2 years that I've been missing out on, which were 1988 and 1991, by watching City Hunter 2, which came out in 1998, and also City Hunter 91, which obviously came out in 91. So yeah, technically City Hunter 4. Yeah, so that was really, really awesome. Like, little side note there, I'm actually only missing 1980, 1981, and 1985 now, and I would have watched one TV series for each year, so I really hope I might actually be able to complete that project this year, which is awesome. Then I can move on to the 70s at some point. But yeah, anyway, City Hunter 91, it's more of the same with City Hunter 3. You know, like, it's got the cream jacket, blue shirt. Some of the episodes he has the grey jacket and the red shirt. Again, maybe those are canon and the rest of it's filler, I don't know. There's some really fun episodes in this, though. There's an episode with Umibozu, which is like the main side character of sorts. See if I can find a picture of it. I think he was on the back of this one, wasn't he? Yeah. This guy here, Umibozu, who's basically works in the same sort of profession as Ryo does, and he's like a competitor, but they often work together and stuff. There's an episode with Umibozu in this, which is probably my favourite episode of City Hunter, just because, I mean, at this point, I'd watched like well over close to about 150 episodes, if not a little bit more, by the time I got to that episode. And well, of the whole franchise, actually, I obviously watched City Hunter 1 like back in 2017 or something, but in terms of the whole franchise, at that point I'd seen a lot of City Hunter, really love these characters, fallen in love with them, enjoy the humour and the comedy and the action. And this episode of Umibozu is basically just a fan love letter sort of thing, like a love letter to fans. It's just really, really funny, full of comedy, all the characters like playing up their particular roles and stuff, and in the show, and yeah, it's really awesome. Definitely one of my absolute favourite episodes ever of this show, and definitely one I will want to watch again. I believe it's like episode 7 or 8. It's like Umibozu working at the cafe for a day on his own or something, and all the things that go on in that episode. It's great. I loved it. Highly recommend that episode for sure. And yeah, overall this season's pretty good. I don't like the last episode. I would assume at the time they didn't realise or think that this was going to be the last ever City Hunter TV series, because yeah, the final episode is just another episode of the show. In fact, there's an element to the final episode that I really didn't like, that adds like I don't know how specific I want to get, like adds a love interest for one of the characters, and it's just not in character for her, and it just kind of bugs me a bit. But I don't know. I don't really want to go into any more detail than that. I probably already said too much for people that know this franchise. But yeah, for those that have seen it, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I just didn't like that episode at all. Thankfully, that doesn't really come up again in any sort of elements. Like, it just didn't suit the character at all. It's completely against everything that character has been for like 150 episodes at that point. Anyway, City Hunter 91, pretty good. Okay, the final two City Hunter things we have. City Hunter Secret Service, which I do not remember what the hell this one is. Oh, yes I do. Okay, this is about the woman who's a daughter of like a diplomat or something. And she was like a estranged daughter from the diplomat, and she ends up working on the security team, and then Rio... Yeah, that's what this... I didn't like this one either. Again, it suffers from the same problem that Magnum does, the 357 Magnum one. Again, it's just like a 2-episode story, like, from the show. It's the same sort of story we've seen a bunch of times in the show as well, and it's just dragged out to like an hour and 30 minutes, and again, like, it just means that the whole middle of the show is just the same sort of comedy and stuff with Rio like interacting with the main girl, but it's just dragged out. As I said, like, it's just the same stuff we've seen over and over and over again. It's just more of it, and it's not particularly amazing or anything. So yeah, Secret Service, definitely not one of my favorites. But finally, in terms of the ADV releases, we get City Hunter the motion picture. I believe this has a different name in Japan, but yeah, this is when City Hunter, these last two specials they did, unfortunately we don't have the last one. ADV never put it out. Discotek are going to be putting it out, which is awesome. But yeah, so City Hunter motion picture, these last two specials are properly good because they are action. Yeah, they're like pure action films. They have a filmic quality to them. The animation gets a major bump. There's loads of incredibly cool set pieces that happen in these. I really like this. This is basically, if you've seen the film Speed, that's basically what this is. There's a train that can't stop, because if it does stop, or goes slower than a certain speed, it will blow up. As it's speed, basically. It's really cool though. This is like the sort of stuff, again, I wish I'd seen more of with City Hunter. When I finally got to this movie and the Death of the Criminal Rio Cyber special, like, both of those are so action orientated, and it just made me really wish that, one, we got more of that in the show in general, but also two, that these specials continued, because it's a shame they didn't. Like, they've got, obviously, the movie came out, and Discotek are going to be putting that out relatively soon, I imagine. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, this was really cool. I love the animation. The main villain kind of has some weird motivations. It's not like a perfect film or anything, but in terms of like seeing these characters that you love and adore at this point in this sort of plot and this sort of action with this sort of filmic quality animation, it was an absolute blast. I loved this. Love this a hell of a lot. It's by far the best special. Yeah, the City Hunter the motion picture is the best part of City Hunter for me. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm probably overpraising it slightly, but I don't know, because at this point it was like the crescendo to my massive City Hunter marathon, but I really liked it. And the one special that we don't have here, the Death of Evil Criminal Rio Cyber, is really good as well. I watched that one fan subbed. Again, as I said, it's very much like this one. Really good action, it's a melodramatic story, and there's some elements to the story I don't like. It sort of like muddies the water in terms of like Rio's past a little bit, and just like how old he is or something. That is kind of strange, but overall I really like that special as well. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's City Hunter, which we've talked about for a billion years. We've got a large franchises on this shelf, so hopefully it won't take too long. There'll be big chunks, but we should be able to get through it quick. So, next up is only motherfucking Cowboy Bebop. So we got the Amazon limited edition for Cowboy Bebop on Blu-ray. I also have the DVD up there, the Perfect Sessions box set. which I also really like. There is another edition of Cowboy Bebop, which I'd really like to get. I'm not a huge fan of this set. Obviously, they put this one out at the same time as they did the Funimation vinyl set, box set, and obviously there's a whole nother release coming out from Funimation, or has come out. Has that come out yet? I can't remember. I remember that being a big thing and them talking about it, and I don't remember anyone ever talking about it afterwards. I assume that hasn't come out yet. Weird. And there's also a really cool release in the UK as well. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this release particular, but I do like it. I prefer it to just the standard version. It comes with like the complete series on Blu-ray and DVD, which is kind of unnecessary with the DVDs, but yeah. Cowboy Bebop. I think I flipped the cover for this. It's got like the old Bandai Anime Legends cover on it. I'm not really sure why I'm doing an unboxing. That's not what this video is about, but yeah, we got like a bunch of like sketches and background designs and stuff, and then we got a more proper. It's really hard to do one-handed. More proper like art book and stuff. So yeah, don't know why I decided to do an unboxing there. That was really not necessary, but anyway. Yeah, nice release of obviously what I'm meant to be doing is talking about the show. And Cowboy Bebop, obviously one of the most famous anime ever in the West, extremely popular. Another samurai series. All of this shelf so far has been samurais. Yeah, I've really come to like Sunrise as a studio, especially in this period in the 90s. They did some amazing stuff. Cowboy Bebop, Escaflowne and stuff, so yeah. Cowboy Bebop, really cool show. The first time I watched it, I wasn't a major fan of it, I'm going to be honest. I think I watched it too early. Like, there's a... I don't know, there's an element of my anime watching history that might not necessarily match up to other people's, but I'm not sure. Cowboy Bebop is one of those shows that people often get pushed towards watching early in their anime viewing, and I'm not 100% sure it's a show that you should really do that with. For me, Cowboy Bebop is a show that you kind of need to go into a little bit later on to fully appreciate. Maybe I don't. It's just, I don't know. Like, for me, when I watched it, I was younger. It just kind of. I think a lot of its symbolism, and a lot of its stories, and a lot of its style in general just kind of went over my head, and it's only something that I've come to appreciate a lot more as I've grown up, a lot more matured, a lot more, and that's when I particularly really do enjoy Cowboy Bebop. And it's still never going to be a show I give a 10 out of 10 to, as much as I do really like it. It's definitely a 9 out of 10 all day long, but it's not a show that's ever going to be one of my true favorites. I like it a lot, but it's just not quite there for me. It doesn't get my heart aflutter the way other shows do that are just that more important to me. But then again, like the shows that are like that, Fullmetal Alchemist, Eureka 7, they were some of the first shows I ever watched. So maybe if I'd watched Cowboy Bebop even earlier than I did, maybe it would be right up there. I don't know. But yeah, again, it's one of the Cowboy Bebop and Evangelion are the two shows that I don't agree in terms of push people towards these early on. These are some of the best anime ever. Go and watch them. Evangelion especially, but Cowboy Bebop as well is a show I feel like you need to go into a little bit later on. Again, it's not really a big deal, obviously, but it's just a talking point, shall we say, and it's just something that I personally believe. I feel like stuff like Fullmetal Alchemist, like some more simple adventure stories with really good character development, those are the sort of things that people need to dip their toes with anime, like stuff like that. Like Escaflowne is another one I would push probably before Cowboy Bebop, even though Escaflowne might not be quite as good. As much as I love it, it might not be quite as good, but again, it's just something that I believe. Anyway, then we got Cowboy Bebop the movie, which is really awesome. A great movie. This one was actually animated by Studio Bones rather than Sunrise. Came out in like 2001, so about 3 years after the broadcast of the original. Yeah, really cool movie, really like it. There is a stillbit release that Funimation put out, but I thought it looked really crap, so I'm quite happy to hold on to my old Image Entertainment, which is a release, which is a subsidiary of Sony. Yeah, I've got this on DVD as well. It's in the art box release, the Perfect Sessions and stuff. I think I briefly mentioned for a second, but didn't really get into it. There is actually another Cowboy Bebop release that I really want on DVD that came out in Japan. Just looks really cool for as like a display piece. That's something I'd really like to get at some point. Okay, moving on, we've got a show that definitely mimics the Cowboy Bebop style, We've got a Coyote Ragtime Show. It even has a similar name in a way. I really liked this show the first time I watched it. I remember a few years later I tried to go back and rewatch it and didn't get through it. I would like to watch it again. It's very over the top craziness. It's basically just about a bunch of different it's a bit like Rat Race, I think, in a way, if I can remember it. Like just a bunch of like different like robbers and like stuff like that, and like convicts and stuff that are all trying to get this money, like search for this money, and they all go for it at the same time, and it's just like a bunch of really crazy eccentric characters all like clashing against each other, tons of action and stuff. That's what I remember the basics of it. I'm not quite sure if that's exactly what it is now. That's just what I remember it as. And again, it's been a very long time since I watched. It's probably about 8-9 years at this point. And then the the attempted rewatch was probably only about a year after I first saw it. So again, this is something I really would like to go back to at some point. I need to just somehow schedule in a bunch of time to rewatch anime, because so often I just don't seem to be able to do it. I keep thinking, well, all this time I'm spending rewatching, I could be watching all the new stuff I still haven't seen, and there's always new stuff I still haven't seen. So at some point I just need to go, we'll sacrifice a month and we'll just rewatch a bunch of things that we've been really wanting to rewatch. This one might be one of the ones, even though I don't think it will be amazing or anything. It's just one of those ones I've been curious to go back to. It seemed like a lot of fun at the time when I first watched it. It reminded me of Cowboy Bebop at the time in a certain way. Maybe the name just kind of threw me off, and it's just like, I kind of just interpreted it, oh, it's like Cowboy Bebop, maybe because the name made me think it was. I don't know, but it was fun anyway. So that's that. This shelf is really tight, so I'm going to move this out of the way and give us a little bit of space to play with. So next up we've got Cyber City, the final collection. This is a Yoshiaki Kawajiri, one of my favourite directors. This is some OVAs he did, like 45-minute OVAs. There's 3 of them. They're all kind of just set in the same location, like this Cyber City, like cyberpunk version of Tokyo, I think. I can't quite remember. But they're all like, I believe they're all slightly like separated stories. I really liked this the first time I watched it. I had the original like 3 separate releases. This is the complete collection release, which probably regret buying in a way, because it comes on literally a single disc for like 3 50-minute episodes. So, and then there's like commentaries, dubs, and so there's a lot of audio on there as well. The video quality must take a slight downgrade between this and the original releases, but there is a Blu-ray supposed to be coming out soon in Japan and the UK. I assume that Discotek will definitely put this out as well. Don't see why they wouldn't. Yeah, I really like these. I don't really remember the 3rd episode, but I remember the first one, and the second one. So yeah, the first one is like Futuristic Die Hard, basically. It takes place in like this giant tower block, and this is like one-man army basically going through and just like murdering a bunch of people that don't know if they took over the tower block or whatever. It might not be exactly like Die Hard, but more of the point is just sort of similar. It takes place in this giant tower block with this one guy just evading a whole crew of like other people, and it's again all like sci-fi cyberpunk stuff as well. It's really, really cool. I really like that. That's the one that comes with the audio commentary from Kawajiri himself as well. The second one, I think it's got this guy in it, and it's like a heist thing. I seem to remember there was a truck for most of it, like this giant like truck, and I think they've stolen something. So I'm pretty sure it's a heist thing. I don't remember. It's been a long, long time, honestly. And so I don't really remember the 3rd one. I'm not even sure if that guy's in the 3rd one. He might not be. He might be in the 1st episode, actually. And maybe they're all connected. Maybe they're all in every episode. I can't quite remember. As I said, it's been a long time. But yeah, all I remember is that I really liked it. And this is, I think, probably the first Kawajiri thing I ever watched. Maybe. And I've gone on to absolutely fall in love with this director and his many like OVAs and movies he did in the late 80s to the mid 90s, and up to like Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, and I guessed Highlander, which I've not watched yet. It's actually up there. Highlander Search for Vengeance. I've not seen that one yet, but yeah, a lot of this stuff he did in the 80s and 90s was really cool, and a lot of it's coming out on Blu-ray now, like Wicked City, Demon City Shinjuku, eventually this, and we got Ninja Scroll on Blu-ray obviously. So yeah, very cool. And Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust is also on Blu-ray. Here's something that I still haven't watched. It's actually out of print from Discotek, one of the few things that is out of print. the few anime releases anyway. So yeah, we've got the complete OVA collection of Crime Freeman. I love this cover. It's so awesome. I used to own the 3 DVDs that ADV put out, the 3 volumes, which were really nice actually because they were in bronze, gold, and silver covers, or gold, silver, bronze covers. They look really, really cool on the shelf because they were like proper shiny and everything. Like, I really like those, but again, it was like 6 episodes, 3 volumes, taking up a lot of space on the shelf. It was just a sacrifice I had to make. And when I knew I could replace it with this cover and this release from Discotheque, it was definitely a deal worth doing for me at the time, because I just love this cover. I need to watch this. I think I've seen like half of the first episode. Each episode's like 50 minutes. They are dubbed, I believe. And yeah, it's based on like a famous manga, and I think there's also a movie that came out in like the 80s or 90s or something, I believe. Can't remember if it's an English movie or like a Japanese movie, or even Hong Kong. Can't quite remember, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, just something I need to watch. I think it's like about an assassin who like kind of cries occasionally, like tears and stuff, and it's got like, yeah, mature stuff. I mean, it's Kazuo, where is it? A story by Kazuo Koike, which I think is the guy that worked on like Golgo 13 and things like that. So anyway, next up we have the complete franchise of Dirty Pair. This is another samurai show. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of these. There's another samurai franchise coming out in the 80s. So we've got the Lightbox releases, which are way better than the original FinPat releases that not Discotheque, Right Stuff did for this. So we got Dirty Pair Part 1 and Dirty Pair Part 2. I love these because they match the characters' like suits and stuff, like her pink hair and her yellow suit. And I also love them because they're just very 80s looking, with like hot pink and neon yellow and stuff like that. It just looks really 80s, and yeah, really, really cool. So this contains all 24 episodes plus the 2-episode OVA that finished the original series, so all 26 overall. Subtitled into English. Weird thing about that though is that the whole of the rest of the franchise has English dubs on them, because these all came out from like ADV, I think, back in the day, and like also Streamline Pictures did some stuff as well. So there's like multiple dubs on these, and like yeah, these all like came out in the 90s and stuff. So we've got like Dirty Pair features, and yeah, as you see here, remastered video, 2 English audio options, ADV Films and Streamline Pictures, and it contains 3 movies, as you can see. So yeah, the kind of crazy thing is that you get all of this, which is all the rest of the franchise. This all came out ages ago, and then it was literally only about like, I don't know, about 9 years ago at this point or something that we finally got the original series, albeit subtitled. But yeah, only when the Right Stuff put that out, we actually finally got the whole franchise. So next we got Dirty Pair, the OVA, which I think is 10 episodes. Yeah, all 10 episodes. Again, there's is it 1 dub for this one? Probably only 1 dub from ADV. Yeah. So yeah, Dirty Pair OVA series, and then we've got the kind of reboot. We got Dirty Pair Flash, which takes us. This is literally done only about 7 years after the Dirty Pair franchise first appeared, and they basically rebooted it and redesigned the characters to fit like a 90s art style. It's a weird choice, but I don't know. So yeah, we got 16 episodes of this, and yeah, this is also dubbed into English via ADV Films, I think, back in the day. And yeah, all with remastered footage for all of these. A really, really nice collection. I haven't watched any of it yet. Really want to. It would be really cool to get through this at some point this year. I'm kind of hope in the winter season, like from around the late September onwards, I'm planning to watch a ton of like older stuff in the winter months, just like cram through a bunch of old series, because right now I'm kind of concentrating on some of the modern things I've still not seen. But yeah, Dirty Pair, very happy to own all of that. Okay. Next up, we've got Domain of Murder. This is an OVA from like the mid-90s, 50 minutes or something. This is based on a long running manga called Hello Hedgehog. Yeah, this is he's just basically a what do they call it? Private eye sort of thing. Like yeah, kinda something like that. And yeah, this kind of plays out just like what I mean. If you remember, like the sort of like 90s TV dramas that were on, especially ones that come out in America, like tons of like Private Eye sort of stuff. Like Columbo as well to some degree. There's like sort of stuff like that. This is kind of what this is like, and it's literally just one episode of it, those sort of stories, like just one tiny slice of what I imagine the manga was. It's a pretty decent little story. The dub's okay from what I recall. It might not be great, but I don't remember it being terrible. Yeah, and overall it's just a little interesting story about a murder that takes place and the main guy trying to solve it. So yeah. It's alright, Domain of Murder, pretty good. Okay, next up we've got Dominion Tank Police, and if I can get this to actually balance the way I want it to, there we go. And we've also got a new Dominion Tank Police. So these are two OVAs done by Masamune Shirow, or at least based on Masamune Shirow stuff. This DVD right here, the original Dominion Tank Police, is actually really hard to find. I got lucky. I ended up snapping this up on eBay UK for a pretty cheap price. I think it was like £10. But yeah, overall this is a pretty hard to find DVD in America. I think in the UK it's not that hard to find, but in America it is, unfortunately. But yeah, so something might be good for a discotheque re-release, especially since it'd be nice if the video quality was better. I wasn't a huge fan of this OVA, honestly. Again, I don't know if the video quality was partly to blame and maybe the mood I was in, because I ended up really enjoying the second one that we'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. It was really dark and murky. And again, the video quality doesn't really help in that when something's really dark. It just looked really muddy and just overall just wasn't a very enjoyable experience, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it's like only about 4 episodes long, this one. Don't think it's going to say, is it? Why would you say how many episodes there is on here? What's the point? Anyway, whatever, yeah, so it's got dub and stuff. I don't remember the dub being very good. Anyway, and next to that we got New Dominion Tank Police, which was also based on the manga. I think there is a manga actually called New Dominion Tank Police. This one was way better. Again, video quality was actually an upgrade in comparison to the original. Not an amazing video quality or anything, but it was better. And there was actually a lot of scenes that took place in the day instead of literally the whole thing taking place at night like the original. Tons of this takes place in the day. I just feel like this is better realized. It's kind of like Pat Labor, just way more zany, way more crazy. And there's some really good stories in this one. There was one about this truck that was basically just got a nuclear bomb on it or something equivalent to that, and it was being driven by AI, and it was like careering towards the city, and they were trying to figure out how to stop it, because obviously if they blow it up, it will just blow up, and that would be bad as well. So it was a really, really fun story, and it's just about these, yeah, it's very similar into Pat Labor, where you got this crew that all work in like the tank police regiment, but they basically cause more chaos than they actually help. And yeah, it was fun. I liked it. And I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Okay then, so next up we have Durarara, the complete franchise. So we got the original Aniplex limited edition Blu-ray box, which contains all 5 discs. So it's got the OVA and all 26 episodes, isn't it, of the series. A little booklet inside. I actually do still have the lunchbox that it came in. It's just there. So I don't use Zoom on here very much. Hope I haven't messed it up. Okay. So yeah, Durarara. Really, really good series, written by the same light novel author that did Baccano, which I have on DVD just over there. It's that one there. I also have it in an art box as well, up there in the dark. You can't really see it there. So anyway, yeah, written by them. I really, really like this show. It's got a ton of great mystery. I think the main appeal to this show, at least for me, is just the amount of characters, the amount of diversity in those characters, and then just how well written the show is and how well written those characters are. It's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff going on in Durarara. It's not always like I wasn't always on top of exactly what the story was even meant to be about, and there are certain elements of the story that are kind of a little bit confusing because it doesn't always have Oh, I can't think of the right word. That's really annoying. But it doesn't always have a story that's continuous or the. No, I can't remember the freaking word. Okay, I can't remember the word for the life of me. When I do eventually remember, I'll just put it in an annotation on the video. So yeah, it doesn't always have one of those stories, so that can make it sort of linear. Holy crap! Okay, I got there. I remembered. Hooray! Yeah, it doesn't always have a linear story. So occasionally you'll see something that actually took place in the past, but you're not being, told that it definitely took place in the past. It can be a little bit confusing at times as well. But yeah. Great story, lots of great characters like Kelty and holy crap, I can't remember his name. Or his name begins with I, his name begins with S, like Shizuo, I think. Maybe not. I forget it. I'm terrible with names, so terrible. I can remember who played the characters, like he's Johnny on Bosch, he's Crispin Freeman, but can't fucking remember the names of the characters. God damn it. But yeah, really, really, really cool series that continues on for another 3 single cores. Aniplex, obviously being Aniplex, put them out in 2 expensive volumes per core. I ended up picking these up sort of second hand from someone. I mean, they were second hand, but they were brand new effectively. So I got them a little bit cheaper. I basically got them for 2 for the price of 1 on each one. So yeah, so we got the first of the sequel seasons, and this is like completes and adapts the entire series. So, and these all come with the OVAs. But the OVAs are placed a little bit weird. I don't, because like what this has. Does it say what episodes this has? I assume it's like the first 6 or something. It doesn't say. At least I can't see where it says it. Forget it. Then we got these. This one. So this is 10. There are 10. I still have the plastic wraps on these. I don't really know why. They just kind of came with them. I was like, screw it, I'll just leave them in there, I guess. But the point I was trying to make, this one's got the episodes on them, but the first one didn't. The point I was trying to make is that sometimes the OVAs are like episodes like 4.5, but they'll be on the second set when episode 4 is on the first set, which is kind of annoying. But at least these have the OVAs. The reason I went out of my way to get these is because they have the OVAs on them. The UK releases didn't get the OVAs, annoyingly. So I had to get the American versions, unfortunately. So yeah, there are really, really, really awesome series. But yeah, I wasn't always fully aware of exactly what was going on, but I enjoyed the characters and their interactions a lot, and that was enough to pull me through it. So yeah. Okay, next up we have the UK release of Eden of the East from Anime Limited. This is their version of like almost like the Funimation Collector's Edition. The Funimation one's way nicer, but I basically got this one for next to nothing. So I would have liked to have got the Funimation one, which I think is out of print now, unfortunately. But this isn't a show I was particularly that in love with, if I'm honest. I really like the first half, but the second half, which is basically, so it's basically a 13 episode series, and then there's 2 movies that complete the story. And I thought the first half was really interesting for the most part, but the second half just kind of, I feel like they just flub the idea, if flub's even the right word for it. It's just a bit of a, no, it's sort of just disappointing. There's like almost like life and death game type scenario, like a survival game with lots of cool stuff. Then they add like a bunch of weird supernatural stuff to it that doesn't always make a lot of sense. And then the actual ending to this whole game that's being played is just kind of meh. I don't know, it just doesn't live up to what it kind of sells itself as at the beginning. So Eden of the East is a show that I think is neat, but it's not amazing, unfortunately. Okay, so here's something I've owned for a long, long time and have still not watched. We've got El Cazador de la Braga is how I've come to pronounce it. I have no idea if that's correct. At least, especially for the Bruja, de la Braga. Probably somewhere in between those 2 pronunciations, I suspect. This is a, what are they called again? B something, aren't they? It's not going to tell me on the back because it never does. Oh, there we go. B-Train. Basically a studio known for, what it says here, Dot Hack, Murder Princess, but the 2 that in particular, Noir and Mad Lax. And also eventually something we'll talk about another time, but Phantom, Requiem of the Phantom as well, I think is B-Train. They're basically a studio known for doing girls with gun shows, so like having like yeah, female leads, strong female leads that are very adept with guns and stuff. Yeah, I have not watched this yet. Set in a fake Wild West, I think. Um, Anyway, yeah, whatever. I don't really have a lot to say about it because I haven't watched it yet. I've always wanted to. I've owned them for a long time, just never got around to it. I hope to do so eventually. I'm currently trying to cram through certain titles in my collection via like publisher. I've like lined up all the Funimation Blu-rays that I've still not watched. I'm kind of just making my way through them, and same for like DVDs from companies, and I'm gonna do that for the next few years, off and on, and hopefully I'll finally get through some stuff I've just not got to for a long time. Anyway, here we have the UK releases from Anime Limited for Erased, an A1 Pictures show from a couple of years ago that was very, very good. That's not going to stand up, is it? There we go. So these kind of mimic the Aniplex of America releases, except these actually do come in proper like chipboard. I don't want to hit that too hard because it might fall over, but yeah. They also come with this very similar to the Japan and like Aniplex of America boxes, which are really kind of boring. Just these like pencil sketches and stuff, and this one's like can't really see it unless I do this, but like slightly gloss on matte spider web, like very, very boring. But the show itself is absolutely freaking fantastic. I remember marathoning through this in a single evening. I know it's one of those shows that I think some people tend to like point fingers at, like some people that are a bit more uppity than my anime fans that I like to associate myself with. To me, I want something that wasn't enjoyable. If the answer is yes, and that's really all I care about. And Erased was very enjoyable. Time travel, like mystery, murder mystery sort of thing. There's lots of really, really cool stuff. I really liked. It's got a fantastic idea for a plot, whereby a guy, when he was a kid, one of his best friends died. I think that's what it was. One of his best friends died, or a girl he knew died when they were kids, and then when he gets older, he ends up going back to that time with his, like, he's still a kid. He goes back to when he was a kid, and he's literally a kid in that time period, but he's got his adult mind. He knows all his memories and stuff. And he decides to try and figure out, and he sees the girl he hasn't seen for a very long time because she died. So he knows he's before she dies. So he decides, can I stop that from happening? Can I stop her from dying? And yeah, it's a really, really good series because obviously he's a little kid, so like he still has to play the role of a little kid, but also that means it can be difficult for him to try and stop what's going to happen because he's a little kid, and like there's certain things that kids just aren't going to be able to do or convince people that what's going on and stuff. So yeah, Erased is really, really cool. I liked it a lot. It's an absolute blast. It gets a little bit crazy towards the end, but I don't know, I really liked it a lot. Definitely something I'd like to watch again. And the opening theme, done by Agent Kong 3 Generation, is amazing. Okay, I don't want to talk about this one for too long, so I talked about it in a Funimation pickup video not too long ago, but Gangster. This is a series, the last ever series, tragically being made by Manglobe. It's an unfinished story. It was clearly meant to be more than one core, but all we ever got was 12 or 13 episodes, whatever this is. I was super excited before this show came out because I know what this studio is capable of when they do this particular subject matter of like gangsters and crime. They're the studio that made Michiko and Hatchin and stuff, so yeah, I was really looking forward to this a lot, and it didn't really live up to my hype. They introduced this element of like supernatural stuff for the characters, like I think they were called Twilights or something. And they have like these dog tags that rank them, and they have like weird supernatural powers, and they work on the parts of like the gang, like the crime bosses and the crime families and stuff. And it was all just a bit unnecessary, frankly. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that stuff. So overall, really nice animation, some pretty good characters, but this story was just a huge disappointment to me. I just wasn't into it at all, unfortunately. So yeah, Gangster. Okay, and then we got the first half of my Ghost in the Shell collection. So we got the original Ghost in the Shell film from 95 Moriyoshi masterpiece, cyberpunk sci-fi masterpiece on Blu-ray. This is the UK steelbook. It's the same as the American one that came out a few years later. Although they've done like a couple. I think they did a Mondo steelbook as well. Yeah, I want to get this in 4K at some point. Either straight from Japan, or I'll wait for the eventual American 4K Blu-ray. But yeah, what should I say about this? I mean, it's Ghost in the Shell. It's an absolutely fantastic film. Kind of similar to Cowboy Bebop. I guess the first time I watched it, I wasn't overly into it. I loved the way it looked, and I loved the just the general style of cyberpunk. It's something I really, really enjoy, especially in animation, or preferably in animation, because it's more realized that way. But obviously the story to Ghost in the Shell, kind of complicated in places, especially towards the end when he talks, I can't remember, the Major talks to, what's he fucking called? I don't remember anything. I never remember names, ever. But when she's like having that whole conversation with, I can't remember, like the puppet master, I can't remember what he's fucking called. Whatever, I'll put an annotation again in the freaking video. Yeah, that whole sequence, I love the voice actor for like the puppet master, whatever dude, in that sequence in the English dub. I thought the English dub for this whole film, in fact, is really, really awesome. I love the design for the Major in this. It's definitely my favourite design they've ever done for her. This is this original design, and I kind of like a lot of the fact that this film is really, really cool, and it takes all the best bits from Masamune Shirow's original manga. Because if you actually go and look at the original Masamune Shiro manga, there's like a lot of stuff in there that's just kind of not that great. Like, there's a ton of like ecchi stuff and just unnecessary kind of stuff, and it's just kind of, yeah, it makes me appreciate what the vision that Mamoru Oshii and all those that worked on this film presented for us, because it's better than the source material, which is often not the case, is it? So yeah, I think that's really cool, and this is a nice steelbook. It's very cool. Then we have the abomination that is Ghost in the Shell 2.0 on Blu-ray. This is the CG enhanced version, and for a long time this is the only way to get Ghost in the Shell on Blu-ray. What a travesty that was. So yeah, so this basically changes a lot of the colouring for the film to like this orange, which I hate. That's, yeah, does not work for me. It takes all the blue and greens and stuff that you kind of associate with cyberpunk, like blue, greens and blacks and stuff, and it changes it to black and orange, and it just kind of looks shit. And all the CG stuff is immediately pretty much out of date at this point. It looks really naff and just hasn't held up at all. And yeah, overall this is just something I watched as a curiosity and I own as like a completionist. It's bad. This is not the version to watch, and the only reason you should ever watch this now is out of just pure curiosity, or as a good example of what freaking people are able to do to their own works. I don't know if Mamoru Oshii did this himself, but whoever did it, it was a bad idea. Anyway, so now we've got the sequel, Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence. This is the Bandai Blu-ray. Thankfully this has now been re-released by Funimation, so you can get it a lot cheaper, and it also comes with a slip. But yeah, this is a film I think, if I recall, Mamoru Oshii didn't really want to make, but it was kind of just like, hey, the production idea or whatever, like, hey, if you want to make a film, this is a really good way for you to continue making films, is that if you make one of these again, because then we can make more money. I can't quite remember if that's the case, but I feel like that was the case with this one, where it just wasn't something he necessarily wanted to do. And maybe it kind of shows, I don't know, the story in this one is just way less interesting. There's like this whole house that the Major goes into, and there's a sequence in there which is kind of cool in terms of animation. There's lots of cool animation in this, I guess, and and it was still done, I think, like, I don't think this is a digitally made film. I think this is still cel painted. I might be wrong. About that. There's definitely digital elements in it, but I'm not 100% sure if it was fully digital. Pretty sure it wasn't. Anyway, yeah, this is just a film that I liked, but it's not something I remember overly fondly, not compared to the original film. So yeah, Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence. This is like a direct sequel, though, to the original, so there's that, I guess. Okay, Now we come to the last thing on the shelf that I have watched, like, which is controversial, I know, given what's still left. But we got Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, the complete collection on DVD. Yeah, so let's put this back over here with the rest of the stuff. So, yeah, this is a series that I know is like really beloved, highly rated, and I'm going to controversially say I don't like it overly much, certainly not to the same degree that everyone else does. I just got super hung up on the fact that, one, I don't like the Major's design in this. As I said, I much prefer how she looks in the original. But I got really hung up on the fact that we went from cyberpunk in the original movie, and most of all of Masamune Shirow's designs for Ghost in the Shell are all set in like 80s, 90s, like cyberpunk design mindset. We go from that to this pretty clean looking sci-fi stuff. Like it's not like super like sterile sci-fi or anything, but it's pretty close, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I kind of just never got over that when watching it. There's some really good stories in this, good action, and like good characters. It's a good series, but I don't know, like I just got super hung up on the fact that it's gone away from what I really liked the most about Ghost in the Shell, which was, the Neo Hong Kong like cyberpunk type world. And we go from that to this, again, really relatively clean sci-fi setting. So, yeah. Standalone Complex. I know there's a Blu-ray, and I know the show was made actually in HD, so I would like to get the Blu-rays at some point, but for now I have the DVDs. And, yeah, I really do need to, obviously, finish the franchise of Standalone Complex, because here we got the movie, which is on Blu-ray. This is The Laughing Man, so this basically adapts the first series into a 1 hour and a half movie. I don't know if that's going to be good or not. I suspect probably not, but yeah, for a long time this was the only way to kind of get the first series in HD, but as I said, they've now put these out on proper Blu-ray. So yeah, and finally for this video and this shelf we have Standalone Complex, second gig, the second season, which for some reason I've just dragged my feet on for about 3, 4, 5 years now. Since I don't remember when I bought it. I don't think it was that long ago, but it was a while ago for sure, probably about 3 years ago at least, and I've just continuously dragged my feet on it. I used to own beautiful, like, the steelbook release for this had like 6 steelbooks in a giant tin. I used to own that. It was really cool, but I sold it unfortunately, and now I have this compact DVD release again on Blu-ray. We'll probably get the Blu-ray at some point, and hopefully when I get around to watching this I will like it. Maybe now I'll appreciate these Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex more than I did the first time. I suspect that when I get around to maybe watching this, I might either watch the full first series again, or at least watch the movie for definite again, or the movie again, or I keep wanting to say again even though I've not seen it. Whatever, video's done, my brain is melted. That is yet another shelf of my anime collection overview video. I still have 2 more shelves for this particular section of seinen action, sci-fi, cyberpunk type gun shows and stuff, and yeah, lots and lots of stuff. And then we've got NIS, complete collection of that, and then we've got all of this stuff to go through. So yeah, we're going to be doing this for a while, so yeah, not putting the years on these videos anymore. I'm going to stop talking because my brain, as I said, is on fire right now. And my throat is almost dead. So yeah, I'm Blaze. Thank you for watching another one of these videos. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, if you want me to make more, the best way for me to make these more frequently, the best motivation for me is comments. So yeah, tell me you're enjoying these videos, talk about some of the stuff I've talked about today and what your opinions are on them, things like that. That's the best motivation for me, is getting that interaction. If I don't get many comments, then I just lose the motivation, because I feel like I'm talking to a void otherwise. So yeah, anyway, I'm Liz. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.